I have a pleasure of having Robin Michael with me. I know Robin from work, but at the same time, we end up building that beautiful relationship where I started calling her Baji and explained her what Baji means. Those of you who do not know, in Urdu language, Baji means elder sister. So I truly believe the way she deals with us as peers, colleagues, as well as customers, she acts like a Baji who's there to take care of everyone's need. Doesn't matter. This is your, mental breakdown. You're dealing with some issues personally, or you're having some challenges in terms of work-related situation. So I would like to welcome Robin for this talk, quick talk. Thank you very much for Robin.
Oh, thank you, Shazad. Hi. He is. I'm so blessed to have Shazad in my life, and I'm excited to have this little time with you in our session.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, Robin, obviously, usually the discussions or the introductions of people are that, this is what I do for a living. But, I always look at you like an individual, like I know somebody as a person. So, if I have to ask you to introduce yourself, how would you introduce yourself?
I would say that I am a people lover and a family lover. I love my family so much. They're a huge part of my life. I think anyone watching this obviously probably has family, and as you know, you can relate the importance that family and those relationships play. I don't believe that it has to always be a blood relative. Like, we've developed such a great rapport and relationship, and I consider you like family. And that's how I feel about a lot of Northstar, which is a very unique thing.
Yeah.
And I would say that my faith also plays a big part in life, in the path that I've chosen, and how I handle, things with regards to my career and success in this industry.
Yeah. So obviously, I learned from everyone, and then in past so many years, I've known Robin. I'm not only learning a lot from Robin, but I'm also learning from Robin's father, who played a great role in bringing up these three beautiful women. And I'm very inspired. I've never met him, like many dads I talk about. I've never met them, but I've learned a lot from Robin's dad too. So, Robin, tell me about your early child. Like, uh, how was the household? What was the role of your mom? How's your relationship with your sisters, and especially relationship with your dad?
Yeah, well, Shazad, I've told you so many stories, and sometimes it sounds like my life was a little bit like living in a Seinfeld episode, but I come from a long line of characters, I guess, as we would say up north, with regards to a lot of laughing in my household. My parents are really funny, joyful people, just quick-witted, kind of south of Boston type of folks, and so that really transcended and lit up our house, but also transcended onto, I like to think, my oldest sister, me, and my youngest sister, who actually was a stand-up comedian in LA. So laughter is a big part of our family, and my dad had always taught me to believe in myself, and I think that's a really probably the most important teaching you can give to your children, is to believe in that you can do anything. And so that was a critical thing, with knowing that I can have a career and I can have success and I can do things. And for me, it didn't come easy. I was very challenged in the sense that, from a learning disability perspective, I had some severe learning disabilities. And I will add this story, that to the point that I was in college in a public speaking class, and I had like a really thick Boston accent, and my college was right there, right pretty much on the line with the city. And my professor, Shazad, told me that I would never get a job out of college because of this accent. I remember thinking, okay. And when I graduated, it was in a recession, and I just didn't quit. And my first job out of college, I was the first one out of college that graduated that got a job right away, and it was a college admissions counselor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's
That's
nothing that
impressive.
like I do today, okay? And everyone's like, "Wow, she went from learning disabilities to grading people on if they can enter a college."
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful experience. But what I realized, and this is the thing that to those of you, even within our own company, that are young, starting out, that you're like, I don't know, is this my place in the world? It's okay to not know, because I learned a lot. And then what I realized was I like higher ed, but it wasn't. I want to be on a business track, and then I ended up getting into software.
That's awesome.
And software sales.
This is amazing to know that you had your own challenges, just like everybody else. Like when I met you, maybe like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, right?
Well, it's over 9 now. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost 10 years ago when I met you, of course, you were at a peak of your career. That's what, I noticed that you were a very well-rounded individual in terms of, selling, which you are good at the same time with people. Obviously, people did not know the struggle and, the craft, how you improved on it. So let's talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll come to, the life at Northstar, like what you believe and, how you're so successful at it, that, several years in a row, you were the number one salesperson in this team. I'm very proud.
Takes a village. It took everybody to get me there, especially you and your team.
Yeah, but I'm very proud to be part of this journey and witnessing, what everybody was challenging when you joined the team as a only female salesperson, sales director in this team, and how you were so determined and we were so focused that we have to make sure she got the support she is looking for. So let's talk about your journey in terms of how did you get into software, and then how was your experience so far in this industry?
So the first thing that got me into like this software world was when I left the higher education. I had a friend, one of my best friends still. She said, "Hey, I just took a customer service job." And again, I was like really young, 24. I was a lot skinnier then.
You still look
but
good.
Thank you. You have to say that to me. And so we got into this company. It was EDS Personal Communications. So many people probably don't remember. There was a billionaire. His name was Ross Perot. He even ran for president once. He didn't obviously win here in the United States, but he was early on in communications with cellular companies, being the clearinghouse for those when cellular, when you're roaming on AT&T and you got to pay Verizon, that type of thing. That's what that system did. And so I moved up the ranks a little bit in that company. And then I went into a company that was a point of sale cellular carrier company, and did the software account management, really there, business development. And then as I moved on, I just got really, really lucky. I worked for 3 different startup companies. It was back in the day, 2000, right before the 2000s, that you thought, you're going to be a billionaire. You had stock options. That didn't happen, but the experience I gained was incredible, Shazad. It was just, you're working, you're at the office till midnight, or things that you guys probably have done in your career, right? To, hey, I got to earn my keep. And so I learned a lot, and then I had a connection where my VP of sales, whenever she would move on, she would take me with her. I would always get the call. And the third time she did that, it was to a company, and I got the call. When I started working there, I got into the private club software business, the private club industry, and just fell in love with it, fell in love with the people, fell in love with a servant's heart. A lot of people that I work with just really give their all to their jobs, at Northstar and also at our clients, and now it's more than a job to me. It's where all my best friends, whether at Northstar or, it's my circle of the I have a tribe of people that are pretty much made up of
Hmm.
this industry.
Yeah. So you pretty much coming to the conclusion that whatever you love is
Yes.
what you need to do in the end, right? It should not be like a job for you where you're tired at the end of the day. You're looking forward to just go home to
Mm-hmm.
your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So seems like because you love people, you end up choosing the career,
Yeah.
and sales is of course it's
Yeah.
about people. So tell me one thing which you think is very unique about your way of selling, because I know becoming the top salesperson in the company is not easy, especially in a very male dominating industry here.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your one mantra everybody can learn from?
Well, I always joke that I have short girl syndrome. So that's why I'm a very, like, I want to be heard, I want to be seen. But in, it, a little comic relief there. But I really feel that it's having passion about what you do, right? Like, if you're in a place right now and you're feeling like, I just, when I get up in the morning, I roll out of bed, I'm just feeling defeated and I don't want to be there. You need to talk. Like my grandmother would always say, I had a little Italian grandmother, and she would always say, you got to talk to yourself, Robin. You got to say, Robin, you need to, get yourself going, get yourself moving again. And if it isn't where you currently are in life with your work, then you can always reinvent yourself. We've all done that, right? We've all gone through it. Hey, I had this job, and then some of the stuff I just told you. And it's just, I think you have to have passion and heart with what you do. And no, we're not, for what I do, am I heart surgeons, saving someone's life? No. But with everything I do, I want to do it well. I want to make sure we take care of that client like I care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that it's either in you or it isn't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You either have to have that and keep going and have that mantra. And now for me, it's been 23 years of taking care of the clients, making sure that, yes, I obviously do this for an income, but I wouldn't feel good or sleep well at night if I felt like, geez, I was, establishing partnerships with people, but not keeping my word on something or taking care of them.
Yeah.
And it takes all of us to do that.
Absolutely. So Robin, obviously, a lot of people in the company at Northstar and in general, they would like to learn your tricks. Like you just said, passion is definitely one thing, but I've also seen the method to this madness. Like you're very disciplined in terms of keeping up with customer, keeping up with the internal teams. If there is an email or if anybody reaches out to you, you make sure you get back to them on time, and you make sure that somebody is attending to that specific email or phone call. So if I have to break down your method of this madness, how would you break it down so that other people can also learn from it and they can adapt if they feel like this is something they want to learn from?
Yeah. I think that it's going back to basics with me. It's some of the stuff like I shared with you guys a few minutes ago that I struggled with learning disabilities. I struggle horribly with I'm a holistic thinker, and all the testing showed I'm a holistic thinker. So breaking things down, being organized is very, very hard for me. So I have to work harder than the regular person. So to-do lists are always great. Putting something in the calendar. So if I'm like, I don't commit your time or anyone else's time unless we've discussed it and you're on a calendar with me with a client meeting, things like that. Keeping things in my inbox that don't have closure yet. So when I'm collaborating maybe with somebody in support and I'm waiting to hear back, or it could be Manzer in professional services and we're trying to close the loop on training, I don't just move that out. I don't delete that email. That's telling me we still have an action item to do here. We're still, he's either waiting on me or I'm waiting on him.
Yeah.
And those are just the little things that you can do, put things in your calendar. But I've also tried lately to block off my time. So I may not be committed, but it's my admin time. It's my cleanup time. You know, in sales, you have to really have, if you're going to be successful at anything, you have to have organization. You have to be follow through. You have to, and sometimes I traffic cop things, and I know I do. And that's just out of respect for my colleagues, knowing I know this area is, you know, really burdened right now, really has a lot going on. Like with what you do, you know, we can have certain go lives that are just like certain months are absolutely crazy. It's seasonal, it's how it works. You know, how can I get something to the top then, you know, so that like we talked about yesterday, you know, I don't send you a lot of emails. I, you know, I may WhatsApp you or chat with you because I know that you get a lot of emails. So
I mean, this is all a surprise for most of us, hearing all these details. Like, for example, you know, you had challenges being organized, right? And but you really worked on it, because a lot of time when people look at you like a successful individual, and you're doing certain things very comfortably and very, you know, compared to others in a better way, you assume that this is your strength. But what they don't realize is actually you worked on your weakness,
right,
and made it into your strength, that you actually worked on it, right? And it's a beautiful thing. So very good.
And I also watch what other people that I'm like, oh, that person's so organized does. Like you're very organized. Alex, I would say, is very organized, and it's like, oh, yeah, like something I learned from Shazad actually that I'm happy to share is when I first started, we would be in a meeting and he would start typing, and we would be like in a sales demo. We would start typing right away, and he would have Notepad open, and that was so easy. I was just like, oh my gosh, why am I doing all this chicken scratch when I'm faster at typing? You're capturing the information right there, and then you copy and paste and send yourself an email, you know, or just save that file. And so I learned that from you.
Oh, thank you very much. And it's a funny story to share with you, Robin. Very recently, somebody told me that, you know, I go to Karachi very often, right? And I meet with a lot of people. And just like the way you notice that I start writing stuff, because I truly believe my memory is not good. I don't rely on it, so I keep my notes on. But what people expect in the end is whatever I'm writing, I will do something about it, right? And not necessarily I'm going to do anything about it right away,
right,
or convey it to you, because that's not my job, right?
Right.
There are several people beneath me in terms of, you know, hierarchy. And if I'm talking to, let's just say, a person who's doing, who's answering phone calls, at least there are like 5 managers above that individual, and then it's me. So I will never portray or take away the thunder from their managers that, you know, whatever they're telling me, I'm going to resolve it, right? And that was portrayed as something that people thought that I'm not taking any actions about the feedback.
Interesting,
right? So it's interesting that you notice something as a strength, but the other person who at least felt and opened up and told me differently was another thing for me to explain. But a lot of time, people like myself who are dealing with a lot of individuals in the company, we're taking notes. It's not to please anyone. We're just focused on solving a problem. At the same time, we're also focused that no matter who is doing it, we want to give the credit to that individual, like the way, you know, we do sales, a lot of sales. And at one point, I know that one of the sales director was struggling here in this company, right? And we associated ourselves with that individual and made sure that, you know, that person is successful. But again, 80% of the effort is done by that individual, right? You're just providing that support, and that's what your leadership role is.
Right.
So that's awesome. So, Robin, a lot of time I hear you talking about company, right? You work with, and of course you share good things you learn from them, and you want our team, especially support team. And we were just, you know, 5 minutes ago, we were talking in the room. You know, what do you expect our team to focus on in terms of when somebody calls, and, you know, I want you to use that same example to explain what is different when somebody calls our support line and we provide them a solution versus how you guys
Mm. I think that currently the way we're handling those calls, at times, and again, a lot of this depends on the relationship in support that you have with your account, right? And knowing that the personality on the other end of the phone and what their expectations are. And in certain areas, I think we can all agree, certain clubs are bigger, they have more demanding members, communications and marketing is just higher up on the scale than other areas possibly, or regions. And in mine, it's very, very important. Not that communications isn't important in other regions, but maybe heavy marketing too. So being able to, when they call in to, they have a problem, they have an account manager that they can work with and resolve that problem, but they can also, collaborate on different initiatives that maybe are going on at the club, and can pose questions to say, we have a member guest coming up and we'd like a page regarding the member guest. And, can you show me some stuff that you've done? Whether in many of these things, again, were add-on projects, let's say. But to collaborate and say, hey, I just did this with this club, or I can show you these 5 different e-bulletins that we just completed, and really speaking that language of love that every membership and communications person wants to hear, which is, things like design and branding styles and mood boards and palettes. And so that's something that I think, you and I talked about, educating our support department a little bit more in certain areas that aren't, again, we have 26 different modules. You guys have a ton to already retain and maintain, but maybe some areas that have never not been the core focus, to work on some of that and educate a little bit, so that when those questions do get posed, they have access to those resources. They can say, oh yeah, we've got these templates, and oh, over here we did this, and that sort of thing. So I'd like to see that.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So certainly, if I am listening to this advice, what I'm going to do is I'm not only going to learn the tool I'm asked to help for, but I'm also going to use that tool by doing stuff how the responsible individual at the club is doing it. Like, for example, if I'm talking about somebody who's managing campaigns, I know how to create a campaign, but what goes inside the campaign, what will be the result of it, what end result should be, and what am I going to do after that? As an individual who's trying to help, needs to go through this whole process and at least talk to those individuals. Our industry is so helpful that every single time you talk to someone, like 20 years ago when I came to Northstar, I had no clue about the club industry, right? I learned it from my peers, my colleagues, as well as from the industry, from the customer, by asking, like, okay, you're trying to achieve this, but what will you do next after this, and how would you would like to do this, and why are you doing it, right? Asking those questions and getting the answers from them and recording it and sharing it with the team, I think that will definitely help us improve.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help you in any way with that initiative, of course, and my colleagues and peers, so that we strengthen our knowledge base. You've taught me a ton on the back office side, and I think there's just some areas that we can always grow together and educate ourselves. So.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So, Robin, to end this conversation, I would love to have multiple conversations with you. I think we will do these often. One piece of advice in general you would like to give to young individuals, those who are starting their career in this industry, trying to come here and do something great. What is one piece of advice which made you successful?
I go back to just believing in yourself. You have to believe in yourself, because by believing in yourself, you're not afraid to ask questions, which will enable you to learn, right? You'll learn from other people. You should never feel like, geez, if I ask this question or if I don't know what to do, something bad could happen to me. that will make me look like I'm not intelligent enough, and my peers may judge me and things like that. Just own it. Own who you are. You're not going to know everything, but be open to learning.
Open to learning and believing in yourself.
Yes.
All right. With that note, thank you very much, Robin, for giving me
Thank
your
you,
time.
Shazad. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Likewise. Thank you very much, guys, and looking forward to have more of these discussions for you.